Welcome to the Steve and Bobby Show. I'm Bobby Bleaton. We have our host over here, Steve Williams.
What's going on?
Hey, first let me start off with, we created Mad Talk TV shows, KP, Panya and I, to be able to provide opportunity to media, to have it a platform to folks in the Central Valley. And so today we have a very, very, very special occasion in which we actually have someone in the Central Valley that is running for president in 2020 that I believe would be 100% better than Donald Trump. And his name is Brian T.Carroll. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
So Brian, I wanna kind of touch into your past. So you're a little bit different than the normal, and what I mean by that, not you personally, but your background. You've had some time overseas, right? And you were 9 years in Colombia, the country of Colombia, by the way, which is a South American country, for those that don't know. You did some. You were in Brazil, and
many shorter trips. Two of my children married Brazilians, so we've been down there. We have in-laws down there, and so.
Do you visit?
We do.
Oh, man, that must be terrible.
It's hard.
Oh, I know
it
it
is.
I know it is. And then you also ran for District 22 in
against Bobby.
Against
Yes,
Bobby Bleaton.
yes,
That's right.
yes.
He beat me.
You guys ran against the infamous District 22's Devin Nunes. So you're kind of a world traveler. You're a school teacher, Methodist, right?
Oh, I grew up Methodist.
Right.
I would consider myself now evangelical.
Okay.
I've not only been around and had lots of friends, but your children grow up and they stretch you. they cause you to rethink things.
Right.
So, yeah, but I'm evangelical.
Okay, so you're running on the platform of the American Solidarity Party. What is the American Solidarity Party? For those that are out there that want to understand that, those are in the, what is it? Tell us, explain that to us.
The party considers itself in the tradition of what in Europe is called Christian Democratic Party.
Okay.
But in this country, that's difficult because Christian has one idea and Democratic has a different idea, and by the time you've put the two together, you've kind of turned off everybody.
Right.
And so we have had trouble trying to figure out a good name. Solidarity Party, of course, was what Lech Walesa had in Poland.
Oh. Okay.
And it is based on a remarkably long tradition of social teaching in the Catholic Church. And I'm not Catholic, but when I read the platform, I said, yeah, duh, that's what I've been looking for all along. And I went back and looked at some of my writings going back 10, 15 years, and everything I've written lines up with the platform. So Solidarity Party officially started in, I think, 2011.
Okay.
Calling itself a Christian Democratic Party, and then we kind of changed the name. And I found it in 2016 after the Republicans and Democrats had both nominated their candidates, and I said, well, this is going to be a lost cause. It's time to look ahead to the next election. And poked around and found the Solidarity Party and jumped in with both feet, got onto the California State Committee. And then, of course, to be a political party, you need to run candidates. So I thought for a long time, what am I going to run for? And became more and more upset with our congressman. And so got into that race. And it was a good experience. I met lots of neat people.
Yeah.
So you would think, so the American Solidarity Party is a relatively new party here in the States. And it's presented in a way that naturally you're Christian, evangelical Christian, right? So when here in the United States, when we're talking evangelical Christian,
Right.
one party always gets that title, right? We all know that. It's the GOP, right? Even though there's Democratic Christians, there's all Christians are everywhere. So, but for some reason in the political landscape, it's always connected to the GOP. How are you going to break that mold?
Well, our current president has caused a lot of Christians to jump ship. And so I'm not alone in that.
Yeah.
And we are doing a lot of rethinking, a lot of going back to, the Democratic Party traditionally polls between 20 and 25% pro-life. And that's probably a pretty strong Catholic base to that group.
Yes.
So both parties are struggling with identity right now. And we're seeing, well, right now in California, there are more no party preference than there are Republicans.
Wow.
And I think the Democrats are losing, what do you call it, market share. But they are also losing market share.
Yeah.
And so there's an awful lot of people out there that are just ripe for recruiting into some new movements. And we hope to be one of those.
And I was watching an interview that you had done recently, or I guess this was last year, and you said something that actually was really, really interesting. I'm going to read it verbatim as the way you said it. You said, people that have privilege who have a voice speaking up for people that don't. And I love that. That's because that's one of the main reasons that I feel that where I'm at politically is because of that. So explain that to us.
Well, that's my definition of social justice.
Okay.
Anytime that people with privilege, and I have privilege, anybody who has voice, and I have voice, social justice says we are looking out for people who don't have that. And that can be DACA students. You know, if they speak out, they're risking deportation. Well, I have a lot of kids in my classes that fit in that. And so that was one of the first things that I said, we got to fix this. And I'm in a position where I can speak out and they can't. So that's an example of that. The most voiceless and least privileged are the preborn in our society. So that's another group that I can speak out for in their favor.
So in this same interview that I saw this quote, you had mentioned about you had a student, one that was I guess he was legal and one wasn't legal. Do you remember that story where you were explaining that?
I think I could find several cases where families brought children into the United States as babies, and then the next sibling is born here. And I worked with one family where the oldest sibling was born here, they went back to Mexico, one child was born there, they moved back to here, and the rest of them were here. So out of, 6 or 8 kids, only one was here illegally. The others were all here legally.
So in the American Solidarity Party, what is their policy in fixing that? How do we fix that within your policy mandates?
Well, I think not just our party, but I think polls show that 80% of the American people want to see a merciful solution for the DACA kids and dreamers. And kids who have been here, our school system started investing in them in kindergarten, and some of them are in the UC system now. It would be ludicrous to kick away all of our investment and send those kids to go live in another country that they've never lived in before. That just makes no sense at all.
It doesn't. Merciful policies.
Merciful
I
policies.
can get on that one.
I can get on that one.
I can get on that one.
I can definitely get on that one. Is there something?
No, so we ran for office. We ran against Devin Nunes, and I would still love to see him gone.
By the way, he campaigned about 10, 15, 20 times harder than I did. so he was a much better candidate.
we tried really hard, but in that, you said you learned a lot. I learned a ton as well. And so, the question that goes, and I got to ask this, coming from Visalia, a lot of folks in this country don't even know what Visalia, neither Fresno. Now we have Brian T.Carroll coming out of Visalia to run for president of the United States, and having to raise the funds that it takes to run such a campaign to get certain states to get people to write your name in as Brian T.Carroll, because there's a lot of Brian Carrolls. This is something that you're absolutely serious about. Some people might look at it as it's a joke, or you're trying to push something forward. What do you have to kind of say about that right there?
Well, I I prayed a full year about running for Congress. And by the time that the congressional race actually started, I started to realize that other people in the party would be pushing me to be the presidential candidate. And so I've had a lot of time to think about it. And I went through a period in my life, coming back from Columbia, which was an incredible experience. You could not find a better place to teach than the kids that I was teaching down there. We were on a mission center, and came back, and there was just never going to be anything like that. I was 45, and the height of my teaching career was already there. So I kind of felt like, God was saying, all right, I want you to go be Moses in the desert, taking care of some sheep. And I learned to love those sheep. I could have done that forever, till I was, 75. But when this came along, it was kind of like, I thought, well, okay, what happened to Moses after he was out there with all those sheep? And so definitely I was feeling like God was telling me to run. He's not telling me I'm going to win. He's telling me to get in the race, take one step at a time, and enjoy it while we do it. And so we don't know how far we're going with this. We could go all the way, or we could just be building the party for the next time. But whatever it is, I'm going to do the best I can and take it as far as I can go.
All right, so there's a mission.
Mm-hmm.
There's a mission, you go with it. And I can understand that too.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah,
All right.
it's always great. I don't, if do you want to put in a plug for your website? You have a presidential website, right?
Actually, things are going so fast. They're snowballing. I still have my congressional
Yes, you do. Yes.
website up, and that's just carrollca22.com. I also, the Facebook page that was for my congressional campaign, I have changed that, and so that is now Brian T. Carroll for President 2020, and I'm still working on getting a website up. In 2015, the challengers, the Republican Party, I don't think they held their first debate till maybe October. And this year, the Democrats are going to hold their first debate over the summer. And even the Democrats last time, I think it was Christmas, and Bernie and Hillary were still dickering over they would even have a debate. So everything has sped up. It's going much faster. And I do not have my website up yet.
But it's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
I'm
Okay.
still teaching school full time. I will retire in June, but for the next 8 weeks or so, I still am chasing junior high kids around all day, come home at night, and you only have so much brain power left after that. But I'm getting it up a little bit at a time.
As we do this, and as Steve and I have talked, and KP we've talked, and we're trying to give platforms to everyone to put it out there. Although we may disagree on certain things like that, I know after viewing this, people are gonna kind of look into and want to know what the American Solidarity Party is. Is there a website? Is there someone you want to point them to?
Just solidarity-party.org.
And we'll have that up on the screen, so it'll be in the bottom there, so you guys can see that. Now, real quick, we have this of where you fall on the political spectrum, and I kind of want we're going to have that up on the screen there. So explain to us what they're looking at. Explain to us what it is that we're seeing.
This is a scatter chart of the 2016 election, and the blue dots are people who voted for Clinton, and the red dots are people who voted for Trump, and the yellow are people who voted for a third party. And across the bottom, you have economic dimensions, so that to the left you have Democrats, the Greens, the Peace and Freedom, and to the right you have libertarians. And on the other axis, you've got social identity. And so again, you have the liberals, Green, Peace and Freedom Democrats at the bottom, and American Solidarity is at the top. So we are socially conservative, and we are economically liberal. And if you look at the chart, we have a lot of people in our quadrant. We are catty-corner from the Libertarians, and we way outnumber
Yeah, I see that.
the Libertarians.
Yeah, you know, and it's weird because everywhere you turn, you hear libertarian. That's, yeah, you know what I mean? It's
I do.
everywhere.
I do.
Libertarian. I have a lot of friends that are libertarians that, you know, believe in their mandates and stuff like that. And, you know, before I did some of the research on you and your part, I started looking. You know, I mean, you guys are in WikiLeaks. I went and was looking. I was like, oh yeah, I can agree with some of that stuff. So there's, you know, some of that platform intermixes, just like we're showing on there on the. I can see where we can cross paths and agree on some things, and I think that's like Bobby was saying. What's important for us here in the Valley and across the nation is to have an understanding of what other people believe and be respectful to those beliefs. And me and Bobby talk about this all. Me and Bobby don't agree on a lot of things. You know, right?
If you agreed, one of you wouldn't be necessary.
That's right. We, there's a lot of things me and him do not agree on. And
We
so
try not to put it all on the air.
we
right?
don't put it on the air, but there are things we, you know what I mean? So not all of us are going to agree on everything. And that's why it's so important to have a platform like we're having here. That way you can come on here and discuss some of the things that are important to you and your party. So if we give you the platform right now, I want Brian T. Carroll, B-R-I-A-N, T, the letter T, Carroll, that's C-A-R-R-O-L-L, right? What does presidential candidate Brian T. Carroll have to say to our audience out there?
Okay, well, the spelling is important because we will probably be right in
why I said
in California. We expect to get on the ballot in Colorado and Louisiana, Florida, maybe in Wisconsin, but most of the other states will be right in.
But that's actually impressive. You're going to be in, you said,
Colorado, Louisiana, Florida are fairly easy to get on the ballot.
okay,
And Wisconsin, we have a pretty good team up there that thinks they can do it.
that's not bad.
And the rest of the states will probably
That's
be
actually
right
really
in.
good.
Yeah,
that's actually really
not
good.
bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
And I think what we offer is an escape from the binary trap that we're in. You know, we've got the two parties, and each one is in their own echo chamber. You know, if you look on Facebook and follow different people, I was looking this morning, real good friend of mine from high school, and every single person, I don't know, probably 30 people commented on his link there, his chain. There was not a single Republican there. You know, they were all Democrats. It was all just a question of whether they were mainstream Democrats or progressive Democrats. And then you can find the same thing going on with any Republican. You won't find a Democrat visiting those. And so everybody's in an echo chamber. Somebody has to be able to talk to the Democrats and talk to the Republicans and try and bring people out of the echo chambers and talk about things. Otherwise, we're going to have a civil war. You know, Lincoln said, "A house divided cannot stand." And if we can't get the two sides talking to each other, we're lost. Our party, because our economic policies are closer to the Democrats and our abortion, social issues are closer to the Republicans, we have overlap with each of them. And we're ideally situated to pull people in and say, hey, let's talk. Let's stop yelling at each other and let's talk about the problems that we have and try and solve them. For example, Romney, when he was governor of Massachusetts, came up with Romney Care. Obama copied it. But Romney couldn't support it because now it was Obamacare and it was Democrats. And so even though it was originally Romney's idea to a large extent, the Republicans campaigned against it. And now they want to replace it with Trump Care, whatever that is. And you can be sure that if Trump is voted out of office, there won't be a single Democrat trying to save Trump care. You know, we have to stop saying we are only going to support stuff that we can get credit for. We have to say, let's support the best ideas, no matter whose ideas they are. And let's solve the problems that this country has.
Well, I mean, that's about as clear as you can get. And I really, really appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
You let us know what we can do to help you out on that, because I think it's really important. And for those that are out there, Mr. Carroll said something that is really interesting. We have to find common ground on some of these political issues. So, you know, I mean, a lot of this stuff, a majority of Americans will believe in the sense of, or that we can all agree on. You know, this universal health care is overwhelmingly across the board, pretty much everybody agrees on that, right? And then we have the situation with Republicans in the instance of family, right? In military. The GOP always gets the military. What did we say? We're going to put the flag on our thing because we wanted to take that back.
Right.
Because for some reason, Democrats are not patriotic. You understand what I'm saying? And for some reason, the
Coming
Republicans
from a veteran.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
You know, it's this stuff, like, it's just nonsense. And we do have to find common ground. And I really, really appreciate you coming down, Mr. Carroll, expressing about the American Solidarity Party for those that are out there that don't understand that.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of guts to step up. You know, you had some of that training ground running for, congressional a race, and now you're stepping up to the executive branch, to the biggest race that there is, and putting your name out there and following a mission, and I appreciate that, and doing that and keeping your head forward and going with it. So that's a good thing. And, we are always going to try to give the people around us and here in the Central Valley, especially, the opportunity to get out there, get your voice out there and do things. We may not always agree, but we invite everybody on the show. We would love for you guys to come here. And since we've had one presidential candidate here, we invite all presidential candidates to come to the show. You're all welcome here. Julian Castro will be in Fresno pretty soon at the Democratic Fundraiser Group.
Hopefully
Maybe we can get him on the show here, but anyone is welcome as well. And Brian, thank you very much for making an appearance.
Thank you for
coming
inviting
here.
me. Steve?
Thank you, sir.
So you can, make sure we do our very best to help out our folks that are here in the Central Valley. And thank you for watching the Steve and Bobby Show. We will catch you next time on Mag Talk TV shows.